I would like to welcome you to another episode of Let's Talk Film, a series where contemporary women get a chance to have their voices heard on the latest film releases. Today, we will be reviewing the film Nannerl Mozart, Mozart's Sister. We are shooting here at Toad Hall, one of the most charming and friendliest neighborhood bars in Soho. It's located on Grand Street, a few steps away from West Broadway. This is one of the neighborhoods of Lower Manhattan, which is noted for its artists, lofts, and art galleries. It also boasts a great collection of cast iron architecture in the world. Approximately 250 cast iron buildings stand in New York City, and the majority of them are here. Over the years, this neighborhood has transformed to include a wide variety of trendy boutiques as well as upscale national and international chains. Creative street vendors and local artists can also be found on the streets of Soho. High-end hotels and restaurants with international cuisine have since followed suit, making this one of the most visited neighborhoods of New York City. Just like its English Manor namesake, Toad Hall is cozy and welcoming. It features exposed brick walls, dark wood features, toads, and a well-kept pool table. A great selection of beer and wine can be found here. Let's check it out. So we're here in Toad Hall in Lower Manhattan, and I'm talking to Gail. Gail, tell me a little bit about what you do here.
Well, I'm a bartender, den mother, general carekeeper.
And what general responsibilities do you have?
Serve people, basically. Be their friend.
Now tell us a little bit about Toad Hall. Like, when was it created? When was it started?
I think Toad is about 16 years old. And I probably have worked here the last 14 of the years. And it's a neighborhood local, plain and simple. Not a dive, not a place to be seen, just a neighborhood tavern.
So you have pretty regular clientele. How have you been able to maintain the clientele?
I think this is a comfortable place to be, basically. And I think the people that work here, all of them, are very real, really nice, in a genuine way. And I think that's why people return, because they can make friends here. They can come here by themselves and feel comfortable. It's a place to relax.
Is it kind of like Cheers?
It's been compared to Cheers.
Really?
Oh, you've got to read the little reviews outside in the window.
Indeed. So we'll take a look at those reviews. So any last comments? What are some very popular drinks that people order, just out of curiosity?
Actually, as a tavern, this is basically, we serve a lot of beer and a lot of whiskey. Okay. And I think those would be our two staples. And, we've passed through all the main phases, cocktail phases, the Cosmo phase, so on and so forth.
Now, how expensive is your collection of beers and whiskeys?
Full gamut. I think we have beers that are priced so, for example, the cooking students who are down the road, something for them, something for a student to have, something for somebody who's got a lot of money to have.
Well, thank you so much, Gail, for this interview and for giving us a little more insight into Toad Hall.
All right.
I want to introduce you to our panelists. To my right, I have Eileen Rosen. Directly to my left, I have Tiffany Coleman. And right beside her, we have Patricia Hu. Today we're going to be discussing Nannerl Mozart, or Mozart's Sister. So I have a question. I mean, we all saw the film. We kind of know the story, or have an idea of what happened to Nannerl. Who do you believe the father, Leopold Mozart, thought had more talent? Wolfgang or Nannerl?
Well, in my opinion, I do believe that people are born with certain gifts. That's how people, arise from more occasions than others. But on one hand, even if Wolfgang was born with more talent, he was being sculpted by the time he was young. If Nannerl was not being sculpted and guided by her father and still had all this natural talent, then there's really no way to tell, because they started on this completely uneven playing field.
And with that said, there were just some subtle things in the father's face. Like, I honestly think that he was a little bit jealous and a little bit intimidated by the fact that this female, his daughter, this girl, had so much without that sculpting and that guidance.
But that's one of the things I must say that I appreciate about this film. I felt that it stayed true to the culture of who women were at this time. There were no surprises. There were no happy endings.
And about it being boring.
But why tell that story? I mean,
Because
why
it was
single
the story
this woman? But why single this woman out?
Because people don't even know who she is.
Okay.
They don't even know what kind of talent she gave to support her brother, to support Wolfgang Mozart's career.
I think it's a nice little snippet because all women know the struggles. I mean, women only have begun to have power in the last century. It's not, so we know the history, we know the fights, we know that many women had to dress up as men to even have conversations.
Can you say George Sand? I don't mind. I have no problem with the subject matter, and I agree. I think it's important to see stories of women struggling to assert themselves. I don't think you have to tell a historic film using historical acting techniques or storytelling techniques. Select scenes, direct scenes that have some impact on the viewer as opposed to simply laying there and laying on one detail after another detail after another detail and let you fill in the blanks.
Several acting teachers have always said you need to make very specific choices.
Right.
Yes.
And when you make specific choices and you commit to that, that's when you start seeing more life and more character development. And I guess that same thing applies to when, with this filmmaker. If he had focused on one thing, or like what it was to go to that school and get dressed every day and, sweating bullets, like walking up the stairs or whatever, like that I guess that would have proven to be a much stronger film.
So we've seen those stupid movies where the girls get dressed up as boys, and
yes,
we've all seen them, and there are all these scenes that challenge it, or the terror of being. How about the terror of being discovered?
Or maybe, I think her character is supposed to be taken as innocently as possible. What I mean by that is she loved music so much that she didn't intend to be rebellious, but she just had a thirst to learn and did what she had to.
She's being driven. How many we know stories of people who are driven by their art?
Yes.
And I will say this about the film, after saying I hate it. To make a film about creativity is tough, and they did accomplish. The music was exquisite.
Yes.
The music was exquisite.
Those are the greatest parts.
And the scenes
those
when
are the
they're
parts
playing,
that resonated with me.
the scenes when they're playing, are moving.
Speaking of scenes of playing music, did anyone remember that very, very special and tender scene? What did you all think of that?
It was beautiful.
That was probably my favorite scene in the whole movie, and I kind of got misty.
Me too.
I was like, oh my god! That was hard for me to hold that back.
But I wanted more from that scene because, like you said about her being flat, and even though I already discussed that it might have been on purpose, her acting flat, but she just stood there and played it.
And then there was a cliche of looking over her shoulder.
No.
I counted the times she looked over her shoulder at the Dauphin 2 or 3 times. And the next time they cut to her, I said, she's going to do it again.
The thing is, I loved it because she was in love with him and he was in love with her, and that was such a clear expression and respect.
But there's again a way of filming it. It was full of cliches. That's what I'm talking about.
Do you guys think that her dressing up as a boy was so taken lightly by the Delphine that you think it was a standard? I feel like it must have been a standard for any woman back then who wanted to accomplish anything to dress up like that. We've seen all these movies where women have to disguise themselves as men.
Yes.
And I feel like, I mean, maybe so because he, felt this attraction to her, that's why it wasn't, made him explosively angry. I feel like it probably happened more.
Probably did, and I don't know enough about French history.
You're a girl that dresses as a guy. Oh, I know a few people like that.
I don't know enough about French history, but you don't know that the Dauphin didn't have homoerotic feelings.
That's what I was thinking.
All over this film.
Yes, absolutely.
Right.
I was totally thinking that
But they didn't go anywhere either, you notice.
Yes, yes.
Nothing. He throws out these ideas,
Yeah.
and everything lays there like a lump. I'm sorry, go
No.
ahead.
I was just gonna say I totally agree with that whole thing. It was just like he totally likes that.
Yeah.
He really does like that. He totally
He could have
likes
went
that.
either way.
Yeah.
That was also my
Yeah,
issue
it
with
was-
Sophie de France and Nannerl's
Right.
relationship. It was also very seemingly suggestive and maybe experimental.
Was.
You know, in a
Yeah.
decent
The
way.
scene as well when she first went to deliver the letter, and I felt like the acting in that way was really similar to the scene with the princess. Very close together.
Yeah.
Very erotic. Very homoerotic.
Ironically enough, this is the perfect violin story.
Oh, this violin.
Super violin.
I'm playing a
Well,
tiny
thank you
violin.
so much for joining us. This has been Let's Talk Film. We were discussing La Sœur de Mozart, Mozart's sister. Thank you so much to Barry and Smokey for letting us shoot here in Toad Hall. Again, enjoy film, and we'll see you next time.